College was an exciting new chapter in my life, and I was eager to explore everything it had to offer. One of the first places I visited on campus was the art studio. It was a dimly lit, cavernous space filled with the scent of paint and the hum of creativity. As an art major, I spent countless hours in that studio, working on my projects and soaking in the creative atmosphere. But there was something unsettling about the studio, a feeling that grew stronger with each visit. One evening, as I was working late, I heard faint whispers coming from the shadows. At first, I dismissed them as my imagination, but they grew louder, more insistent. I looked around, but the studio was empty. The whispers seemed to be coming from a corner of the room where an old, weathered easel stood. Curiosity got the better of me, and I approached the easel. On it was a canvas, blank except for a single word written in crimson paint: create. The whispers grew more frantic, and I picked up a paintbrush, my hand trembling. As I began to paint, I felt as if I were in a trance, the brush moving of its own accord. Hours turned into days, and I painted without rest, my mind consumed by an insatiable need to create. I could hear the whispers growing louder, their voices filled with madness. And then, with a sudden, violent force, the whispers stopped, and I found myself standing before the completed painting. It was a grotesque, nightmarish image, a reflection of the darkness that had consumed me. I tried to leave the studio, but the door wouldn't budge. Panic set in as I realized that I was trapped, my fate tied to the cursed easel. I painted on, my sanity slipping away, until I became nothing more than a whisper in the shadows. Baxter Hall was a centuries-old building on campus, its imposing facade hiding a history of dark secrets. As a freshman, I had heard the whispers about the hall, but I brushed them off as mere legends. One night, my roommate and I decided to explore Baxter Hall, fueled by curiosity and a desire for adventure. Armed with flashlights, we entered the dimly lit building, our footsteps echoing in the empty corridors. The air inside was frigid, and the silence was oppressive. It was as if the very walls were watching us, their secrets waiting to be uncovered. As we ventured deeper into the hall, we heard faint cries, like the echoes of distant screams. We exchanged nervous glances but continued our exploration. We came upon a locked door, its surface covered in strange symbols and markings. My roommate reached out to touch it, and as soon as her hand made contact, the door swung open, revealing a hidden chamber. The room was filled with the tattered remains of old books and decaying furniture. But what caught our attention was a mirror, a full-length mirror that seemed out of place in the dusty room. As we approached the mirror, our reflections seemed to distort and twist, their features contorted and monstrous. The room grew colder, and a sense of dread settled over us. And then, as if in response to our presence, the mirror began to show us visions, horrifying, nightmarish visions of the past. We saw the hall's dark history, students conducting forbidden rituals, whispers of dark forces, and the tragic fates that had befallen those who had crossed its threshold. We tried to turn away, to escape the nightmarish visions, but the mirror held us captive, forcing us to witness the horrors of Baxter Hall. Hours passed, or perhaps even days, and we were finally released from the mirror's grip. We stumbled out of the room, our minds shattered by the haunting visions. As we left Baxter Hall, we couldn't help but wonder how many others had fallen victim to its malevolent influence, how many souls were trapped within its haunted walls. College was a time of newfound independence, and I was excited to move into my own dorm room. The building was old, its brick walls covered in ivy, giving it an air of timeless charm. But as I settled into my room, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The room was small, with creaking floorboards and a window that overlooked a courtyard, but it was the closet that filled me with unease. The closet door was always slightly ajar, no matter how many times I closed it. At night, I could hear faint whispers coming from within, their words unintelligible but filled with malice. I tried to ignore the closet, to convince myself that it was just my imagination, but the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They seemed to seep into my dreams, filling them with nightmarish visions. One night, as I lay in bed, I heard a voice, a chilling, raspy voice that seemed to come from the closet itself. "Let me out," it hissed. I froze, my heart pounding. "Who are you?" The voice grew more frantic, its desperation palpable. "I need to be free." I couldn't resist the urge to open the closet, to confront whatever malevolent force resided within. But as I approached, a sense of dread washed over me, and I hesitated. With a sudden, violent force, the closet door swung open, and a dark, shadowy figure emerged. It was a grotesque, nightmarish presence, its form shifting and contorting. I tried to scream, to run, but the figure reached out and touched me, sending a surge of icy cold through my veins. I felt as if I were being pulled into the darkness, consumed by the malevolence. And then, with a final, desperate effort, I managed to break free, stumbling out of the room and slamming the door behind me. I never returned to that dorm room, but the memory of the malevolent presence in the closet would haunt me forever. I couldn't help but wonder how many others had been lured into its darkness, how many souls were still trapped within its cursed walls.